تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, dear family, now I consider this community my family. The first time I was given the great pleasure of giving the Friday sermon to this community, I talked about the self, controlling yourself. The second sermon I gave was a natural progression which led into family and community. And now we're going to progress even further to break down what this whole thing about family is structured around. You see, we know that strong people are members of strong families. And strong families are the building blocks to strong communities. Strong communities are a benefit to society as a whole and give all mankind hope. But when we look at society today, there's a conscious effort to try to do away with this structure. They're trying to attack this structure by going at the mothers and the fathers. Disrespect for our mothers and our fathers is rampant in our society today. So this is what I want to cover today, is the disrespect and the loss of respect for our mothers and our fathers in our community, and how that is affecting us as a whole. Brothers, sisters in Islam, mothers and fathers, wives and husbands, sons and daughters, today I want to talk about the one thing that we all have in common, which is that we are sons and daughters. We all have parents. There's some man and woman out there who has strived for us to be the best that we can be, who gave up everything in their life so that we could have, who were there for us when we needed them, who taught us things when we knew nothing, who fed us when we could not feed ourselves, who changed our dirty Pampers and wiped our snotty noses, sometimes even barehanded. You know how your mother just might take a look out your nose real quick? That's love. That's what a mother is. In Islam, we give the highest regard to mothers. Mothers and fathers. Not just mothers, but Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, when a man asked him, who should I devote my love to on this earth of all people, he said, your mother. He asked him again, a second time, he said, your mother. And the third time, he said, your mother. And then he persisted and asked him the fourth time, he finally said, your father. We all know that hadith, so I'm going to use the first part of the khutbah to discuss the importance of our mothers. Don't be mad at me, brothers. This is from Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. He said the mother is the most important, 3 times. Not once, twice, but 3 times. So I'm going to take the first portion to discuss the importance of our mothers in Islam, which really I cannot, it's not enough time, but I'll try to paint a picture of the importance of the mothers in Islam. And if I have time, I might throw a few nuggets to the brothers. We'll see. Inshallah, if we have time. I want to start off with a story from a Sahaba of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His name was Abdullah-Jummah. Great Sahaba and a very, very knowledgeable Sahaba, as reported. One time he seen a man who was carrying a basket on his back. And this man was making tawaf around the Kaaba. He was on Hajj. So he thought it was strange that this man is carrying a basket on his back, and he questioned him, like, what are you doing? So the man began to tell him that my mother always dreamed to make Hajj. And because she came old, and she no longer had the ability that I thought to repay her for her carrying me in her womb for the 9 months that she did, I would carry her on my back to make tawaf around the Kaaba. He said, surely this is enough to repay my mother. It's got to be. I carried her all the way from Syria to Mecca on my back in a basket. Yeah, Abdullah ibn Umar, surely this is enough to repay her, isn't it? Abdullah said, no. Not even enough for one kick. Not even enough for one contraction from her labor pain. Is it enough to repay your mother for all the sacrifice she went through for you during labor? That is a near-death experience. Men, we cannot even start to equate how difficult labor is. You want to talk about big, bad, and strong and tough? You think we tough? Try to go through labor. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, gave women the strength, the perseverance, and the patience to be able to withstand labor. And us, because we are ungrateful to our mothers who sacrifice everything for us, who give us everything, even if they don't have, they'll take the clothes off their back to give to us. And we're ungrateful. Mothers, 9 months, pregnancy. One mother described it as running a marathon, and then after the marathon, you got to climb Mount Everest. That's the labor. The marathon is the pregnancy. After the marathon, then you got to climb Mount Everest. That's the actual labor. And if a man went through it, who knows? He probably wouldn't make it. Maybe he'd die. Allah knows best. And we have lost respect for our mothers. The Prophet ﷺ said that there will come a day when a woman slave gives birth to her master. Sahih Bukhari. When a woman slave gives birth to her master. Now what does that mean? Does it mean literally give birth to her master? A lot of scholars have broken it down and interpreted it to mean the undutifulness of children. The disrespect of children to the point where they'll treat their mother as their slave. To me, that's more than disrespect. That's beyond disrespect. That's abuse. But in most cases, if we're not abusing our mother, then we're taking her for granted. We're thinking that we can repay her somehow for all the things she's been through. We're thinking that if we are successful, then that's somehow a repayment for the time that she spent taking care of us. Or even worse, we don't even consider that time that she spent taking care of us. We just go on living life like as if nothing happened. But women are strong. The first woman to become Muslim, Khadija. The first woman to be a martyr was Sumayya. Not a man, it was Sumayya. Sumayya came from a poor clan in Mecca, one of the poorest tribes, who would always get abused. She was one of the first women, along with Khadija, to accept Islam. Her, along with her husband and her son Amr, they all accepted Islam. So once some of the richer clans got word that Sumayya accepted Islam, they went on persecuting her for years and years and years. Until one day they finally caught up with her. They persecuted her to the point where she was at the brink of death. Abu Jahl asked her, now you must submit to our pagan idols. You must, or we'll kill you. You know what she did, Sumayya? She spit in his face. And she told him, I will never submit to your Lord. I will only submit to the Lord of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And then he proceeded to kill her. Right there in front of her son, in front of her husband. The first martyr of Islam, Sumayya. Faced with the same situation, what did her son do? He gave up. He couldn't take it. He couldn't face it. This is not to downplay Umar in any way. This is just to show us the strength of our women and how we take it for granted. Every king needs a strong queen behind him to help him run that kingdom. Don't take our women for granted. Give them the flowers that they deserve while they can still smell them. Don't wait till your mother is in the grave to be the first time you ever send her some flowers. Send it to her now. Let her be happy. Let her appreciate you. And if your mother is not around, then pray for her. I want to tell you a personal story of my own about my mother. You see, my mother passed away in 2009. And I remember the exact date. It was April 2nd. It was a Thursday. We had the janazah on Friday, April the 3rd. I remember being in the Masjid, praying the janazah prayer, and after the prayer, people volunteered to carry the body to the hearse. So of course, I felt like it was only proper that I volunteered. People didn't even know it was my mother. My mother was such a great lady. She had thousands of people at her janazah. Thousands. And when I think about Sumayya, I think about my mother. Because Sumayya was related to be a very frail woman. Old, maybe weighed around 100 pounds. But had the heart of a lioness. That was my mother. So as I'm carrying my mother's casket to the hearse, I'm making dua, making dua. And wallahi, the next thing I remember, I was inside the grave with her. Wallahi, the next thing I remember, I was inside of the grave with her. Some people had to also take her out of the casket and place her in the grave, so I was one of those people. Next thing I know, there lies my beloved, grave this wide. Now, as I take you down this stroll, I want you to paint this picture in your head of how you would feel when you're in the grave. And the only thing you have left is the pious children that you left behind that can pray for you. Those are one of the three things that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that will benefit you once you're in the grave. Is a pious child that prays for you. Now, as I'm putting my mother in this grave, I'm making dua, I'm making dua. And there's one hadith that came to mind. And that is, after the last person has taken 50 paces from your grave, you will not remember anything of this world. So there I am. Came out of the grave, put the soil on my mother, covered it up. And I'm sitting there thinking like, after I take 50 steps, that's it. That's it. I count the steps. So I get to 50. Now imagine if that was you and you never lived up to the promise that your mother had for you. You never made her happy. You never made her proud. How would you feel? And remember that one day you're going to be in that position. And your child is going to have to be the one to pray for you. The only thing in this life that's guaranteed is death. So let death be a reminder to the believers you will die. And those seeds that you leave behind will have to pray for you. The only thing that can help you, your deeds have already been counted up. So let's be that child that bears that burden for our mother. Let's pray for our mothers. That Allah forgives them their sins, widens their graves, makes it spacious, and gives them the highest level of Jannatul Firdaus. It's not a joke. Death is real, and it's imminent. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِندَكَ الْكِبَرَ أَحَدُهُمَا أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا فَلَا تَقُل لَّهُمَا أُفٍّ وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا وَقُل لَّهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. Allah has ordained that you obey Him with sincerity and goodness to your parents. If one of them or both of them reach old age, do not even say to them, uff! Not even uff! فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا وَقُلْ لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. Do not chastise them, but speak to them a good word. قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. Allah orders us that we do not even say uff to our parents. But yet we're so ungrateful. Don't even say uff. Don't even suck your teeth. They tell you to do something, do it. They ask you to go wash the dishes, go wash the dishes. They ask you to take out the trash, take out the trash. There was a man, I'll relate to you another story. There was a man, a Sahaba of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, who was on his deathbed. He was on his deathbed, getting ready to die. Prophet Muhammad sent Amr, the son of Sumayyah. This is after she passed away. He sent him and Bilal ibn Rabah to go check on the brother. And he was about to die. So they reported that he was in grave condition. He was getting ready to die. It was imminent. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ sent him back and told him, tell him to say La ilaha illallah. Tell him to say La ilaha illallah. So they went back to him, but he was struggling to get the word out. He couldn't get it. He was stuttering. He couldn't get it out. So they came back to the Prophet and they told him that he's struggling. He can't say it. So the Prophet then questioned about where is his mother? Is his mother alive? He said, yes, she's very old. She can't really walk, you know. He requested a meeting with this person's mother. She couldn't really walk, but still, she was so excited to get the meeting with Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that she said she would drag herself to meet with him. So they met and he questioned her about her son. She said, oh Prophet, I swear, my son is pious. He always makes salat on time. He's a good husband to his wife. He always gives zakat. He fulfilled all his Islamic obligations. He said, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said to her, tell me the truth, how does he treat you? She said, I only have one negative thing to say about him, is that he preferred his wife over me. And it made me sad. His mother said he preferred his wife over her, so it made her sad. That's it. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said he would never enter Jannah until you're pleased with him. He told Bilal to bring him and he was going to set him on fire because his mother was upset with him. Because he preferred his mother, his wife, over his mother. His mother broke down and started crying. She said, Wallahi, I can't stomach it to see you burn my son in front of me. I can't. I forgive him. I forgive him. She said, are you just saying that because you want to save him, or do you really sincerely forgive him? She said, I sincerely forgive him. So he sent Amr and Bilal back to go check on him to see if he could finally say the La ilaha illallah. And as soon as they walked in, wallah, he was saying La ilaha illallah. Because his mother had been pleased with him. That's how important this is. That's how important this is. And Shaitan loves nothing more than to separate the family. He loves nothing more than divorce and separation. We know that we're on attack as minorities in America. The main thing they try to do is separate us. Separate husband and wife. There's nothing more that Shaitan loves besides the separation of family. We got to hold strong. We got to support each other. Our sisters have to uplift the brothers. You know that we're on attack. Help us out. We understand y'all the strong ones. But Allah put us in position to be leaders of the household, of the family. We must speak on your behalf, which is what I've tried to do today. Inshallah, Allah accepts your efforts and blesses you and our mothers and our fathers who have passed away. Inshallah, Allah keeps us as bearers and witnesses to their greatness, and as those righteous children who make dua for our parents. Inshallah, Allah makes us of those people. I pray that Allah accepts our dua, accepts the Hajj from the Hajjis, should be returning soon. I pray that Allah heals our sick. I pray that Allah gives us shifa. I pray that Allah gives us the best in this world and the best in the next world. I pray that Allah grants Jannah to those of our family members who have passed away. We have a brother here whose uncle passed away. I pray that Allah forgives him his sins and grants him Jannah. Allahumma اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت تباركت ربنا وتعاليت سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا وأخطأنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. أقم الصلاة.